Peoples have been stewards of these lands and waters surrounding and play with them. Bowen Island. Welcome to the Bowen Island Municipality meeting of Monday, March 23rd, 2026, and thank you for joining. I'm Andrew Leonard, the mayor of Bowen Island Municipality and the chair of this meeting. I'd like to introduce, as I always do, the other elected members of our council here today, starting on my far left this time with Councillor John Saunders. To his right is Councillor Tim Lake. To his right is Councillor Allison Morse. To my far right is Councillor Suellen Fatt. And to her left is Councillor Judy Kennedy. You're also joined by members of our and coming screen just now. Is Councillor Alex Jurgensen. Sorry.
And Sandra, wonderful.
And Sandra, the council member in training. We're also joined by several members of our professional staff team here this afternoon, including our Chief Administrative Officer, Karen Gillen, Corporate Officer, Sophie Insignia, as well as other members who may be presenting agenda items here today. Meeting is being recorded, and when members of the public speak during the public comment and question and answer portions of the meeting, the presence and voice will be included in the permanent recording, which will be available at bowenislandmunicipality.ca, as well as on our YouTube channel, where it is streaming live now. This council is an official forum for the conducting of the business of local government. We all love our home. We're passionate about what happens in this community. I encourage everyone to maintain a constructive and respectful tone during the meeting and to direct comments for council during the public comment in the next portion of the meeting to myself. For those following along in the room, online, or later on, the agenda and full council package for this afternoon's meeting is available at bowenislandmunicipality.ca. That I will draw our attention to today's agenda. And I'll look to the corporate officer for the introduction of any late items here today.
There are two on-table items, and that is two letters regarding agenda item 9.2, 994 Windjammer Road, and the letters are from Steve and Sue Spring and Bonnie and Rob Schultz.
Then I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda and the on-table items, moved by Councillor Jurgensen, seconded by Councillor Fast. Any further discussion, changes, amendments? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to public comments, I'll look to the corporate officer for public comments here today.
There's just one.
Okay.
And it's Luke Gregg, and he is on Zoom.
Okay, so welcome to our commentary. You'll have 3 minutes for your comment. Probably hear a beep or a boop at about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And your time doesn't start until you've had a deep breath and are ready and set to go. So welcome, Luke.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am the authorized agent for the property owners at 994 Windjammer Road, which was just previously discussed. And I'm just commenting on our development variance application to be discussed today. We've just been approved and permitted to build a single family home and a garage with a suite. Lot coverage totaling 3,450 square feet. The maximum for the lot size with the zoning of RR1. This area includes a deck space of 216 square feet where the proposed pool will be located, 123 square feet of which will be considered additional lot coverage. The only reason that the pool will put the lot coverage over the allowable coverage is due to its depth, as technically the base of the pool is considered grade and any structure over 2 feet must be included in lot coverage calculations. The property is located at the end of Windjammer Road and was at one point boat access only until a shared easement was granted. However, no rezoning was undertaken, which has left the property as the only RR1 surrounded by SR2s in the area. And I only mention this to highlight that the home that is being built is modest in comparison to what could be undertaking on neighboring lots, as an SR2 zoning would allow lot coverage up to 5,382 square feet. The property is supplied with water from the Blue Water System, and under guidance from local consultants, we will be installing a 10,000 liter rainwater storage tank for upkeep of pool levels, which we've been assured will be more than adequate. We have support from close proximity neighbors, which we'd be happy to provide if necessary, and just hope that council will agree that what we're asking is minor in proportion to the lot and the project. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today and for your comments. Councilor Jurgensen.
May I ask a question of the commenter?
Yes, the comments are still online. I believe there's a question from council.
Yes, absolutely.
Through the chair, just a question, when the pool gets drained from maintenance, where does that water get discharged to, in the current proposed plan?
In the current proposed plan, the home will have a large rock pit that will take any drainage from over drainage from the house to collect and disperse as necessary.
Okay, and that includes the pool as well, just to confirm.
That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Ferguson? Not seeing any further questions or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No delegations today. Moving on to the consent agenda. I'll look to councilors for items they'd like to pull from the consent agenda. Councilor Ferguson.
Sorry. No, I was looking to
Oh, you were-
move it, but I
Okay.
will wait to see if anybody else wants to pull anything else.
Councilor Getty.
4.3.
Any other items to pull from the consent agenda? Not seeing any. I'll look for a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Councilor Ferguson, seconded by Councilor Morse. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries unanimously. Moving on to items pulled from the consent agenda, 12.3, Anton Von Walraven regarding continuing breach of waste discharge permit for this BC. Thank you for this position, Councilor Getty.
I don't know who the members of Concerned Citizens Bowen.ca are. And the only person that's identified is the writer of the letter. And I'm very, very sympathetic to the content of the letter. I'm very concerned about the last sentence. So I'm a little bit worried that we not accept this. I would recommend that sentence be either deleted or changed. And I think that we need to caution members of the community that feel quite strongly about things. So the sentence, I'm not sure if I even should read the sentence, but I think that it's there's the strongest innuendo of going outside what I would think would be reasonable boundaries in terms of questions and protests. I'm worried in terms of us accepting this as correspondence, and I would certainly recommend to the writer that he change that last sentence. The rest I'm very sympathetic to. And I think that it's a reasonably good letter, but as I say, I'm a little bit reluctant to endorse it as it stands.
Thank you, Councilor Getty. Over to you, Councilor Summers.
Thank you. I want to thank Councillor Getty for drawing that out, regardless of whether one agrees or disagrees, which there's nothing to particularly disagree with on the whole, but drawing in particular, as you said, the last two paragraphs, it's not appropriate. It's not something that should be being seen in front of council. I don't think. I completely agree with Councillor Getty here. It sounds threatening almost. I don't feel particularly threatened, but it sounds threatening and words matter.
Motion to dispose of this letter, Councilor.
Well, just a curiosity question. By receiving something for information, I don't think we're endorsing.
I'll look to our corporate officer for that distinction.
Through the chair, no, council's not endorsing correspondence. It's just receiving it as on the agenda.
Yeah, so we're not even necessarily receiving, well, it's under information item, so I guess we're not receiving it for first. Yeah, so I don't know whether there's grounds for accepting it or not. If it's, I have to necessarily, I don't know. Unless there's something that the board takes about the process.
That's good.
In light of that distinction, then I can simply move that we accept it for information, but I'm still wanting to put it on the record.
I think it's adequately on the record, and over to you, Councilor Pence.
Thank you. I also read this, it could be read as a threat. And I
I wonder if you want to return it to the writer and ask that they consider rewriting the last two paragraphs.
So the point of interest, we are going to copy them, so the actual.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear that part. Okay, thank you.
Ministers. So a motion to receive, not receive, I will entertain either. Okay, to receive. Motion to receive, second by Council Wade. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously. Moving back to regular agenda. Seven point one, we have 1620 Joan Aubrey Lane, application for rezoning. We're back in our community planner going this here today.
Sorry, point of access. I couldn't hear the particular address. You might repeat that.
1620 Joan Aubrey Lane.
Thank you.
I think we did. Drew back in his.
Sorry, I struggle with sound for a moment. Everyone can hear me now?
You can hear you loud and clear, Mr. Backen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just trying to full screen here. Okay. So thanks again. So Bowen Island Municipality has received an application for a land use bylaw amendment, which is for the purpose of amending a previously approved rezoning application in phase 3 of the Arbutus Ridge subdivision. The original plan for phase 3 was having 14 cottages and accessory structures, all located within one large property. The cottages would be under common ownership and would be rented out to tenants. And the purpose of this proposed amendment now is solely to establish these cottage units on individual lots, allowing individual ownership of the units as opposed to rental. And this proposed amendment is applicable only to phase 3 of the subdivision at this time. Yeah, phase 1 and 2 the subdivision is complete in terms of building. Phase 1 is fully built out with homes. As for phase 2, it's largely undeveloped, but several homes are currently under construction. So the Arbutus Ridge site is zone CD 18, which is split into 4 different areas or subzones with different allowances for each phase. Area 2 allows cottage residential development and is applicable to phase 3 that we're discussing. So this proposed amendment put forward by the applicants is to create a new area of the zone, which would be a variation of the existing area 2. So all changes to the allowances are related to this proposed change of having having this lot layout of having buildings on individual lots, allowing individual tenure as opposed to all under common ownership. So the applicant's rationale letter explains the challenges in financing the project, that the original common ownership layout has proven unfinanceable as it requires one entity to finance and carry the full capital costs of site works and construction, and then to recover those costs over time under a rental framework. So this change will not seek additional density, and it's strictly a tenure enabling amendment. And the applicant notes that the existing housing agreement and eligibility framework will remain in place. And because an OCP amendment is not required in this application, public hearing will not be held. Instead, the public will be notified before the readings of the bylaw. Regarding amenity contributions, the applicants already contributed amenities, including parklands and trails, and financial contribution to the community center through the original rezoning application. So staff are not seeking additional amenities, and thank the applicant for those contributions. And the applicant has confirmed that they remain committed to fulfilling any trails in this last phase. So being the next phase in a residential development previously approved by council, the proposed change is not expected to have any impacts apart from supporting the financial feasibility of the project. So staff recommends that council refers the application to the Advisory Planning Commission for a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Backen. I see a number of questions, so we'll go Councillor Fast, Councillor Jacobson, Councillor Morse.
Thank you. First, just a quick one. Can you repeat what you said about trails? Something about at this phase trails, and I couldn't hear.
Oh, sorry. I think I was just stating that they're just any trails left in this last phase that the applicants confirmed that they're going to fulfill those contributions. Just basically saying no changes to the previously approved trails. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Fast, over to you, Councillor Jacobson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Planner Backen. What is the current zoning on this particular lot? As I recall that there was something, I think this might have fallen into supportive housing Or is this the wrong part of the zone that I'm looking at the map for?
Through the chair to Councilor Jurgensen. So it's a CD 18, and this is that area 2. Yeah, if you're referring to supporting housing, like it was, it's not really, I guess it's not really spoken of in the zoning, but through the housing agreement. But yeah, that this was housing intended for people with like Down syndrome and other disabilities, as well as seniors. Yeah, that's the intended intended occupants for these units.
Okay, and with that in mind, would changing the tenure to an ownership-based tenure rather than a renting tenure change that? And is there sufficient protections in place to make sure that that remains the intended group?
Through the chair, yeah, the applicants confirmed that the existing housing agreement and the eligibility framework will stay in place, so there should be no change. I guess I guess I've had some thoughts on just wondering maybe how it impacts kind of who can get the units, but I guess when it comes down to the financing of the project and whether or not the project can go ahead, it seems like something we need to support. Yeah.
Okay, and finally, is this a simple subdivision of this one property into multiple lots, or is it a stratification of that lot into separate stratified units?
I believe it was described as a Bearland strata, but they are individual parcels and it'll be much more than 2. So there were 14 cottages proposed, and then there were some accessory buildings and a proposed commercial building even. So it was going to be I think around 16 Bearland strata lots.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Go around to Councilor Morris, then back to Councilor Preston.
Thank you. A couple of questions for the planner. Your report under existing zoning, the last sentence references an area 4. Area 4 permits 4 lots for detached, but on the map, there's no area 4 shown. There's area 1, so I'm wondering if the area 1 that's nearest to Windjammer should be area 4.
Through the chair to Councilor Morris, I just actually confirmed this with Daniel because I was confused as well, and it looks as though it was just an update that hasn't been made on our mapping yet. But the area 4 is was it something like 1676 Malcolm Creek Road? It's the lot owned by Ian Stewart that's just to the south of this development, but it's all part of this big housing development.
So it's not part of this lot.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty good. And the housing agreement will cover off for the same cottage residential use that we've got. That housing you just automatically transfers to the strata. It doesn't have to get rewritten or anything.
We'll have a review over it, but I don't think it needs to be rewritten. I mean, I guess I did. I just read over it, and there was a referral to. There was a reference to rental housing, so it might need a few tweaks.
And where would we find that housing agreement?
I can circulate it to any councilors or attach to any future reports. It's in our
Okay,
in
and
our
then
files.
is there going to be any common property at all in this development other than the septic fields? The commercial unit and the barn and those sort of things will all be strata lots, or?
I believe everything's on strata lots. Yeah.
Except for the septic.
Right. Yeah. I'll have to confirm that with the applicant, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just some clarification questions, John.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Morris. Councilor Preston.
Thank you. I'm looking mostly at the tables, starting 4.30.2 about size, siting, and density. I guess that's page 69 of our agenda. And I'm seeing that the maximum lot coverage has gone from 15 to 25%. And it looks to me like maybe but because they're adding 65 square meter garage area maximum per lot. I'm wondering, is that mostly what that increase in lot coverage is for, that to add, to permit an 8 meter by 8 meter approximately garage?
Through the chair to Councillor Fast. That's a good point you've raised. I'll have to look at that. When I was looking at that, I assumed that it was just based on, splitting the property down into these smaller lots, and some smaller, some larger, and just that 15% applied to each individual lot, as opposed to just the big whole lot where there's common areas and things like that. I was thinking that was just to make sure the houses were still adequate size. But now that they are allowing garages, I think that's, you're probably correct. I think that's why that's there.
Okay, thank you, because I do have more questions, but just my comment is, I think the size is adequate. I mean, it's the same size as the house that I've lived in for 30 years, raised a family in. And but adding that size of a garage to it, it makes me think that the size, siting, and density part, it's not exactly the same, because they're changing the setback from the front of the property, and they're covering more of each lot. So anyway, that's what it looks like to me, and I look forward to clarification. And then looking at one of the maps, it says proposed park swap area. This is the one. It's one of the big maps called R. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, it says REPA 3A, and it has something outlined as proposed park swap area. I'm wondering if you could tell me what that means. Is that, I can see something on the map, but I don't know if that's to park or from park, or where. What's the swap area?
Through the chair, Councillor Fast. Yeah, I'm sorry, I haven't seen that at all on the maps. I'm gonna have to look at that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. None of this is, these are just questions, because I think this would be a valuable little neighborhood for the island. So I don't mean, would each of these lots also be allowed a detached secondary suite?
Through the chair, Councillor Fast. That is a good question. Sorry, I don't have an answer right now. I'm gonna have to review that.
Okay, all right. And then, and then my last comment is just, I wonder about having these big double garages. I assume they're double, that's big. Seems big to me, in a cottage residential layout. And so I just wanted to flag about the cluster of cottages idea, and what will the big garages do to them. But I'm just to let you know that I'm interested in that factor of it. But nothing. Okay, thank you. I look forward to more answers.
Thank you, Councillor Fast. Over to you, Councillor Dickinson.
I just want to flag that the larger garages in a project like this can often be attributed to accessibility needs for accessible vehicles, and the deployment of things like ramps and lifts and that kind of thing. So it's not uncommon to see them, in my experience, in these types of developments.
Thank you.
Not seeing any further questions or comments from council. The recommendation before us is the council refer application, the application of the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendation. Councillor Fast.
I would like to, because of that park swap question, I would like to, I'm going to suggest referring it to the Advisory Planning Commission and the Advisory Accessibility Advisory Committee and the Parks, Environment and Climate Action Committee. So with that, I'll move it that council refer application RZ 2025-0186 to the Advisory Planning Commission and the Parks and Environment Climate Action Advisory Committee and Accessibility Advisory Committee. And I wonder if we want to add for a recommendation.
no wondering within a motion, so it's.
Yeah, I know it. I'm not seeing anybody jumping up and down, so leave out the Birch
Okay.
question.
So motion to refer to 3 committees, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye, and that carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Backen.
Thank you.
Moving on to the main event, 7.2, 2026-2030 5-year financial plan bylaw, number 707. We have our Chief Financial Officer, Kristen Watson, joining us here today.
Thank you, through the mayor to the rest of the council. I've drafted the 5-year financial plan bylaw covering the years 2026 through 2030 for your consideration today. The 5-year financial plan has gone through a significant development process beginning last September with a survey that we did. The key elements of the 5-year financial plan include a proposed property tax increase of 6.6% for 2026, estimating about 5% in the years thereafter. There's a proposed increase to the garbage parcel tax of $12 per year. The utility rates will be increased in a range from 4 to 8%. There is a consideration of imposition of a new parcel tax for the Cove Bay water area, $80 per year for specific contribution to the reserve fund to fund the ongoing capital expenditures in the Cove Bay Water District. And as well, now that the Blue Water Park project has completed, there's a proposed increase to the Blue Water parcel tax from $550 annually to $1,200, and that is to fund the ongoing principal and interest costs related to that debt. Last meeting, we had a discussion with council regarding a grant to the museum and archives. Council signaled a desire to increase the grant to the museum and archives by $30,000 annually. We have found commensurate savings in the operations plan as laid out in the report in order to fund that without adjusting the property tax rate. Thank you to the library board who I believe was considering a reduction in their budget request of $10,000. I see Councillor Fast is nodding yes approval of that. Thank you. The next step is to after the financial plan is approved, the next step then is to work on development of the annual tax rate bylaw. We still require information from third parties in order to bring that piece forward. We need the Metro Vancouver final requisition dollar because we have to develop the tax rate in order to collect that from Metro Vancouver. So we're still waiting on that piece of information. The communication to the public has gone through several different iterations of public consultation, including, of course, the survey, which I mentioned earlier. As well, we did hold an open house on February 26th and presented council with the feedback from that process at the last council meeting. So the alternatives for council is to go ahead and provide 3 meetings today for this draft bylaw. Alternatively, there could be some additional direction to staff from council to make additional changes and could be brought back later again at a later date. We do have to approve the financial plan prior to May 15th of any given year. The recommendation from staff is today that the financial plan be read 3 times and be in the process for bylaw approval. Thank you.
Thank you to the CFO. I'll look to council for questions, comments. Any Councillor Jurgensen.
Just through the chair, just a big thank you to everybody who's worked on this plan. It's been, obviously quite a process, but thank you. It looks really good.
Thank you.
I guess first and foremost, I think that the amount of work that the financial director has done is quite significant and very helpful. And I think that it's a difficult situation in terms of all the rising costs and all of everybody's expectations and our quite substantial wish lists. And having been through the process with the Muni and with the trust, and the feedback that we're getting from people in terms of just affordability. And that's, I think, my most fundamental concern in terms of some of the people that are possibly going to be in a situation of struggling. It would be very interesting if the process somehow in the future could, and here we are at the end of the term, somehow figure out a way of having the bare bones as opposed to some stepped system of wish lists, so that if we do find ourselves in a situation where we think that, you know, the economic forecast for the country or for the region or, you know, something larger than ourselves is going to be dire and going to be difficult, or that we think that we've got some other surprises coming down the pike in terms of some of our capital problems, that we've got a little bit more flexibility so that we've got more options and we can have different discussions about what are, if we wanted to fine tune our priorities in terms of strategic planning and such. And I think that I'm feeling a little bit nervous in terms of what's happening with the financials, both in terms of our neighbors to the south and generally in terms of the effect that that's going to have on Canada and what it's happening in terms of people in our community. And I would think that it would be very helpful to have more options to think about, to consider. So I don't know how that works into the whole process. I know that we start off with the sun, the moon, and the stars, and everybody's, you know, if we had everything, this would be ideal. And it's really, really hard to pull back from that. So I would find it helpful to have not a worst case scenario, but, you know, if we had something that was bare bones, and then we could start adding as we thought we could afford. So I'm very happy with the process that we've been through this, and I think that you know, we've done both staff projects and the council projects and the community as well as we can with as little as possible. So it's not an extravagant budget, although it is an increase, and I think that it's thank you very much. I think you've done a really, really good job. It's been very helpful.
Thank you.
Perhaps we'll get the recommendation on the floor. Councillor Best.
I move that whereas council has considered a proposed draft 2026-2030 5-year financial plan, which includes a property tax increase of 6.6%, provides revenues sufficient to fund all operating and capital expenditures, and includes contributions to reserve funds, and provides for the repayment of loan principal and interest. Therefore, be it resolved that Bowen Island Municipality 2006 to 2030 5-year financial plan bylaw number 707, 2026 be read a first, second, and third time.
By Councillor Best, seconded by Councillor Wake. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much to our CFO as well as to the staff in pulling together a budget like this. I think every room effectively.
Thank you.
Moving on to staff report 9.1, Islands Trust Requisition Methodology, senior staff discussion updates over to our CAO, Karen Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report responds to Council's February 23rd direction following the Mayor's report on the Islands Trust Requisition Methodology. It provides an update on senior staff discussions held on March 4th. That meeting included CAOs and CFOs from Bowen Island Municipality and Islands Trust and focused on understanding the current allocation model and Council's concerns. There was agreement that clearer explanations can be provided to Council in the short term to improve transparency around how the current requisition is calculated. We also agreed that more comprehensive review of the allocation methodology should occur later this spring, summer to inform the next budget cycle. A key theme was improving ongoing communication, including establishing a regular annual touch point to discuss budget pressures, assumptions, and emerging issues before decisions are finalized. There were several specific line items that were discussed, including the Indigenous Relations Manager, accessibility planning, insurance, provincial grants, trustee remuneration, with some of these items flagged for further review. Islands Trust advised an upcoming transition in financial leadership with an experienced provincial CPA stepping in and a structured handover planned to maintain continuity for our staff lead.
Today.
And in closing, the recommendation today is simply that council receive this report for information, with staff continuing to work and reporting back as the longer term review progresses.
Thank you to the CEO. Questions, comments from the council? Councilor Morrison.
I noticed, note in the last paragraph, which the CAO has noted as well. So who was appointed effective today?
A gentleman has been hired to replace Director Mobbs. And he was at our last, Derek Coburn is his name. And he was at Trust Council meeting, and he a part of it, the budget discussion. And he comes from inside government, a lot of background there. I said hello. This is the last day of Julia Mobbs' term. Today is changeover day.
Right, and just through the mayor to add to that, this is a temporary.
It's a 1 year.
Julie, 1 year, Julia's coming back.
Yeah.
The gentleman's from the province, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she's just taking a year's. So
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? Just from my seat, so I'm curious, so in here it says, the report states that, more comprehensive review of the allocation model in advance of the next budget cycle is achievable. And has there been a timeline specified for that, or any indication of when they would be bringing that back to their council?
Through the mayor, my recollection is that they didn't provide a specific date or the time that this suspension is over. They were going to get time for the next one and work those details out. Invite the CFO to contribute their recollection to that as well. Yes.
I do believe that the conversation needs to get started a bit sooner rather than later, especially given the transition in the CFO leadership. So I will make a point of reaching out to that individual within the next couple of weeks. Give them a little bit of time to get their feet wet and get going and dig into their material a little bit. But I will definitely make a point of reaching out within the next month or so.
Sounds good.
I asked, I'm sorry, I can't remember his last name. I asked Derek at the last trust meeting if he'd had an opportunity to read your submission, and he had. So he was coming into the position with that some sort of background. I don't believe that there was an opportunity to have, for anybody to have discussions with him prior to, it was just, it's a half-day meeting, or
Yeah,
I
he's
guess
just
it
there.
turned out to be a full meeting, but it was full day, but it was just the budget stuff, and it was just the comment and passing and everything. He's up to speed, and everybody's quite confident in being able to help us. Okay.
The other curiosity I have, I'm not sure which direction we put this in, and it might require a letter to the trust itself, is I'm curious how the feedback that was provided by Bowen Island at the delegation and then subsequently sent by letter to the trust was presented and received by Trust Council. Under 7.2.6 C3.3, their policy. I know that we sent a letter, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
With the form you presented to Trust Council?
It was included in the agenda. I did receive a follow-up from Director Mobbs that it had been included and accepted as received by Trust Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as a point of correspondence, correct?
Yeah.
Not as like a formal feedback or anything, but
As acknowledged as this was Bowen Island municipalities feedback under policy 7.6.2. Yes.
Yeah, just to add to that, get forming backdrop on the conversation on fourth, so by that time they didn't hear this. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
By our March fourth meeting, they had already received a letter from us.
Yes.
So that did form the background.
Yes.
Backdrop for the conversation, so.
Correct.
Any specific questions they had related to that submission would be raised at that March fourth meeting.
Councilor Getty.
They received your report and they had received correspondence from the municipality. And our recommendation was to, for the staff to start this conversation. So that's, I believe, the follow-up from, this is written March 13th. So that's just in the middle of, just after the trust meeting. And then now there's this transition in terms of this new person coming in. And he's not going to require a huge amount of orientation, I don't think, and he'll be able to get his feet wet and then get started back on. So I think the timing is like a big part for him.
Councilor Pass.
If you want to watch the recording, I wrote down, because I thought you would ask. It's 11:30 a.m. on the Thursday, March 12th. And you'll hear Trustee Getty and CEO Roney, and it says, tell Andrew. So that's where to look.
Okay, yeah, no, I did review the recording of the actual correspondence portion, and it didn't seem it was, as if our letter was pulled at all. And then on the Thursday, there's a disposition of delegations as well, where
That's where it is.
there seemed to be no mention or motion made with that.
I don't think there was a motion, but there was a Judy spoke about the letter and from Kristen Watson. So if you want to check
Yeah.
around 11:30.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm happy to receive this, and I do want to thank our CAO and CFO for the work that went into the March 4th meeting. And it sounds like the staff engagement was productive, and the commitment to a more comprehensive review next cycle is certainly welcome. I think it is worth returning to what council directed on our February 23rd meeting and what's come back to us. So the unanimous resolution here directed staff to pursue resolution of the methodology issues identified in the report and not calculations. And so, and I think this teases out a bit of the challenge that we're going to experience with this moving forward, is that there's a staff level component to this, as well as a governance level components of this as well, an intergovernmental piece as it deals with trust policy and bylaw and budget process, et cetera. And what I noticed, the staff meeting addressed individual line items. So we saw Indigenous relations allocation, the accessibility plan treatment, insurance and consistency, and those are calculation level clarifications, and they're useful. But I believe that we need to be looking at a governance level on some of these pieces as well. And I'm recognizing that this might be an intergovernmental question. The report that I produced for council is about methodology, about how the trust exercises its discretion under their own policy 7.2.6 and which allocation method gets applied. We saw that there was allocation methods that are based on favorability. Some are inconsistently applied based on line item. In that some functionally equivalent items get different treatments. And I don't think that's a question that gets resolved by checking the math. It's really a governance question, and it hasn't been engaged yet. So I am looking forward to what the next budget cycle will look like if the allocation methodology is taken up and reviewed. It would have been, I think, interesting to see some discussion at Trust Council about what that allocation method actually looks like, and that there's going to need to be changes to both policy and bylaw at that table. I'm curious as to when that actually reaches Trust Council. And for now, all we can do is receive the report. I think get out ahead both at a staff and council level for the next budget cycle, which I think will be probably one of the first items for new council to take on when they get seated. Councilor Fest.
Just a little bit extra background. This was the last meeting of trust council that we could approve the budget at. And we're required under the act to pass a budget every year. So there wasn't time for a lot of discussion. The meeting went on quite a bit. There were a number of trustees who had other motions about the budget. And so a discussion did happen about, do we have to pass this budget? And the answer was yes. So I think it was just too late in the budget cycle this year for that level of discussion among trustees who, this was a 700 pages, I think, this budget, this agenda. And it was just a little too late in the cycle, which is why I'm glad to see the communication side brought out so that everybody can be ahead of it next year. If we have this discussion again.
Right, and I think it's a policy question for next year as well. Again, based on the trust policy, is that we have until February 28th to provide budget feedback. And if that budget feedback is provided by February 28th, and it shows up on a revised agenda, and then it's too late to make any changes to begin with, then there's
Change the policy.
yeah, there's a question, I think, of administrative fairness in that of what is the point of the feedback anyways. So that's something that I'd like to see early, and I think it's something that I understand that we're going to be meeting with the executive committee sometime in the near future. That would be a great question opportunity to speak to them about as well.
But I'll just finish quickly by saying, by the way, some of the other things, we did adjust financial plan. We're going to be adjusting financial planning policy around timing and activities in the budget cycle. There was something on this agenda, but we had passed an alternative so that it couldn't be voted on. And so we, I think the idea of moving that February 28th date, that's too late as well. So I'll bring that to the, I guess, to the new director of finance and or the interim director of finance and see whether we can get it on either a committee, financial planning committee agenda or something. Thank you.
Councilor Fest, Councilor Gideon.
So we've got some very well-paid talent, well, maybe not well-paid. We've got some very good staff on both sides in terms of understanding all the accounting principles. And I mean, I taught accounting when I was teaching in the law school, and I cannot say that I understand the principles, and I certainly haven't got a lot of training with them. And I'm looking forward to getting the support, help from the professional staff that we do have, and they're very good, to be able to help us all understand this. So, you know, when it comes, it's not just a mathematical calculation. It has been raised as a governance and a methodology situation. But I think we all have to understand what the mathematics of it are, what the principles are, where it is that we want it to go and why. And it's a negotiation in terms of ultimately if you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and everybody's happy with all of the calculations. So when we get into those more political kinds of discussions, I want to be able to, hopefully, if I'm still around, I want to be able to understand what some of these principles are. And I'm looking forward to getting the help from the staff, which is why I thought we'd put it over to get the staff more engaged with this. So I don't have any doubt that there's going to be administrative fairness. I don't have any doubt that we're going to be able to come to some sort of a collaborative, well-agreed sorting out what's going to be the most help for us and what's going to be we're able to sort out in terms of the methodology. So I'm a little bit concerned that we be very careful in terms of making sure that we're not discrediting in any way what the expertise and the help and support that we're going to get from the staff on both sides.
Councilor Getty, Councilor Summers.
Thank you.
Councilor Summers.
To the chair. First of all, I agree that there's a lot of good people working on this. I don't feel like anybody's being, and I know Councilor Getty wasn't saying anybody's being discredited, but I don't think that's even wavering in the air at all myself. But when I read the report from the CAO, which gives a lot of detail, and I also looked at, I read the minutes, or well, I didn't read 800 pages of it, but I read the pertinent parts to me, and I looked at the video, and ultimately, I think the mayor has already said this today, like sorting through and saying, well, this becomes 5% of that because those are all, I get that, like, and as per Councilor Getty, knowing the math and the accounting behind it is something that we're probably all gonna have to learn at some point. But the whole process piece, the methodology piece, I don't want to put that on the back burner. I want to make sure that that stays at the front. And it's quite possible, you know, it's entirely possible that we'll go through a review like that and come back with methodology is sound. Okay, and if it is, that's fine. But right now, I feel like in that report, we're dealing with tactics rather than the strategy, I guess. Like we're not looking at the big picture at this point. And I know that there was time constraints here, like that budget had to get passed. There's legislation around it. You've got to do what you got to do. So I completely understand all that, but don't want to see methodology get put on the back burner for next year kind of thing for whatever constraints that we have. So we need to identify those up front, which is something that Councilor Fast just started to do, I think, and move forward from that. Thank you.
Councilor Summers. Councilor Morris.
So out of curiosity, I had a quick look at the press release which announced the budget, but it didn't give the actual amount for the Bowen requisition. It said percentage. So how much was it ended up being? 500 something thousand.
Look to our CFO.
I received an email from the Islands Trust Director of Finance on Friday, and she informed me it's 524,000. Even? I think there's a few extra dollars in there, but.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, to our
Yeah,
CAO.
I just want to, this point of methodology is, maybe it was captured that well in part, but.
Nope.
Sorry, did you want to go first or?
I just looked up the email exactly. I'm sorry, it's 528,619.
Okay, actually, yeah, so, there was a recognition that they would look back at the methodology. They were against the time constraint, obviously, time of year, but they're looking at the methodology. The other thing, I got from our conversation is that having this new CFO in place, Derek, who comes from the province, might be a good opportunity for somebody with a fresh set of eyes who is coming from outside the organization to actually look at this methodology. So I think the way it was framed to me is this is a positive thing that somebody from outside the organization stepping in with a really strong background in finance will have those fresh set of eyes and then being able to unbiased in the whole process is to live through that. So I think that is their goal.
Thank you. And then the last piece that I just wanted to delineate a little bit is I've heard a couple of times that the requisition of the Islands Trust, you know, I think absolutely it needs to be collaborative. I think our protocol agreement specifies that. It specifies the way that we should be operating with the tax. When it comes to tax requisition, it's not actually a negotiation. So the act specifies what taxes can be collected for. The Islands Trust is a taxing authority. They do hold that power over Bowen Island, so it's not the requisition itself isn't a negotiation. And I believe what the ultimate aim should be is that enshrined in bylaw, enshrined in policy, within the trust is a real clear, put in inputs, get out outputs, and the discretionary elements that exist in the middle need to be specified a bit more clearly. Negotiating piece, it's just what we should be expecting from a tax reporting. With that, I will look for a motion to receive the report, please. By Councilor Ferguson, second by Councilor Fast. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimous. 9.2, 994 Windjammer Road, introduction to an application for development variance permit. We have Xerxes Howe, planner one joining us here today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for introduce the DVP 2026-0013. For DVP to increase lot coverage. So just to start DVP 2026-0013 is 994 Windjammer Road. Here's the subject property and the notification area of within like 400 meters of the property. Next slide shows the location of the pool, which puts the application over lot coverage. The applicant is asking for 335 square meters of lot coverage, where they're allowed 320 square meters. Recommendation is to give is that DVP 2026-0013 be considered by council at the April 27th, 2026 meeting. And that council authorized staff to give notice for the consideration of the DVP for properties within 100 meters of 994 Windjammer Road.
Councilor Richardson.
Thank you, through the chair. The two letters that we received, or really, I suppose all the letters we've received for this application, do they fall within or outside of the 100 meter radius? And if they do fall outside of the 100 meter radius, whereabouts on the island do they come from? If no,
I believe those two in the or outside 100 meter radius. I believe they're just possibly in like other water system, the one further south by Carbutus Ridge.
King Edward Bay, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
okay.
Councilor Fast.
Thank you. So they're not part of the Blue Water, through the chair. I'm sorry, I would like to know from the planner more about the water and whether the water supply is coming from municipal water or and if so, which local service area?
Through the chair, the 904 is serviced by municipal water, and it's the Blue
Water.
sorry, the west side, some
Blue Water.
yeah.
It is Blue
Yeah.
Water. Okay, because those are big lots out in that area, and of course, kind of at the end of the road, I think more. Well, obviously, people are finding out about it already, but I don't know. I have a couple of questions too, and when the proponent's representative was speaking, he said that the water use from the roof. I'm wondering about drainage, and one of the other councillors asked about the drainage of the pool going into a rock pit. Is that something that is part of the plans that the municipality considers when looking at development variance permits?
The chair, I would look to manager planning.
Through the chair, the BC building code has requirements around drainage, so we would at building permit stage. Typically require what's required in the building code.
Thank you. I just wanted to check that was, okay, great. And well, anyway. I think there's water concerns out there and we just passed a water conservation bylaw. So this pool would be within our new rules and the fees associated with that water conservation bylaw as municipal water, I'm assuming. Is that correct?
Through the chair, as far as I'm aware, the water conservation does affect the entire municipality, so I wouldn't assume, I'm not super familiar with the water conservation bylaw.
Through the chair, through the water conservation bylaw, we now have the ability to issue fines for excessive water use or wasteful water use. The filling or draining of a swimming pool, it's certainly not something that has been contemplated by providing specific permissions within that water conservation bylaw. It would be addressed through the progressive metered rates. And then any leakage that was not repaired, it was potentially brought to the attention of the property owner and not repaired. And have the ability to issue fines for that wasteful or overconsumption. We don't have a specific prohibition in our water conservation bylaw that precludes the installation of an in-ground.
Just that I just don't like development variance permits in the first place because I think the same rules should be there for everyone. And but that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Fest. Councillor Jurgensen.
Through the chair, the proponents representative also did indicate the use of a rainwater collection tank for the topping up of the pool. Is there any indicator in the application itself that would detail how that would impact or any regulation that we have over that? Or is that something that they're just voluntarily putting in and we have, really no say whether they have to use it before using municipal water?
Through the chair, I would look to recommend flag.
Through the chair, it's not currently in the development variance permit, but it is a condition that could be placed in the permit. Like the permit could have a condition in it that would say as a requirement of any building permit to put in a swimming pool, there needs to be a rainwater catchment system that holds a certain size of tank. That it could be a requirement we bring back for consideration.
May it be a requirement that that water be used prior to municipal water if the water is available? Obviously, if it doesn't rain, there's nothing there, but.
Yeah, through the chair, we would consult with our building inspector to see what building code regulations to see what would be possible. Yeah.
Thank you both.
So just thinking back to the presentation that we received from the applicant. It's purely a lot coverage issue. And I'm thinking maybe they could scale back on the size of the deck and then it wouldn't be a lot coverage issue. Anybody in the other lots in Blue Water could go and build a swimming pool. And unless there's a lot coverage issue, you could build a swimming pool. Or setbacks and lot coverage, so. There's the swimming pools are basically allowed, so I don't have a problem with them having a swimming pool. I can sympathize on the water use, but I think he mentioned that they would use the rainwater storage tank to fill the pool. Yet we can also put a mandate in, like that the pool could only be filled in certain months, like when there's lots of water.
through the mayor, correct, this EDP is for lot coverage, and the reason they apply for the EDP is because the pool would put them over the lot coverage. If they were to reduce the size of the house, for example, they could add in the pool.
Well, are there a bunch of decks also?
Right, and decks and garage, just,
Yeah, but I mean, they could reduce the size of the decks and still have the pool and have the pool not. Lock up.
yeah, for the chain.
I'm in favor. of giving- reading this.
Yeah, the recommendation before us today is just sending it out to notice. Councilor Jurgensen.
Sorry, one final question, and it's regarding this time lot coverage. The proponent's representative also mentioned that all the other properties around it are R2, and this is R1. Is there a reason that the process of rezoning is not being applied here to fix the lot coverage difference by? It sounded like they were saying rezoning it to R2 would change that, or is that a misunderstanding on my part?
I think it's SR2.
Oh, sorry, SR, correct. Thank you.
Through the chair, I suppose they could always rezone to SR2 as an option to change the lot coverage calculation. The route chosen for the applicant was for a development variance, just to vary the one aspect of the zoning, which is the lot coverage.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions, comments, someone to make a motion or recommendation? Councilor Geddie,
I'm
followed by Councilor Jurgensen.
through the chair, question for the planner. I'm looking at Schedule A, the location map. Looks like it's on page 8 of 16 of this report. And the 100 meters, that's small compared to most of our houses. And it looks like the north part of this lot is all in green, either crown land or some other possibly a park designation, and most of the other residents are south of this. So how many other properties does 100 meters touch?
Through the chair, it touches roughly, I believe, like a dozen or so properties. Yeah,
Thank you.
It was in your first slide, right?
yeah, through the chair, yes, it was in my second slide. The properties notified would be in the south, and there's 999 Mutiny, which is to the east. Yeah, that would be by the location area.
Councilor Jurgensen, followed by Councilor Morse.
I fear the Councilor Morse, so I'll go first because I was looking to move the recommendation once council has no more questions, provided that it goes as written, provided it goes to 300 meters of notice.
So I had a question now, looking at the map. Why is there a gray bit and then the green bit? The green bits, I'm assuming, are just meaning it's undeveloped. But why on the Go map, if you put the map back up, why is part of it gray? I mean, the lot is the whole big square, right? Not just the little grayish piece.
Through the mayor, I would direct that question to the judge.
Through the chair, the base map on Go map is just data taken from OpenStreetMap. So the green gray that shows up as the default doesn't have any significance in regards to a bylaw. It's some sort of algorithm determining based on the orthophoto what it thinks the ground tip is. So it has no legal significance.
Only question I have before it goes to Councilor Jurgensen for the motion. Is this type of variance permit eligible to go in front of the Board of Variance?
Through the chair, yes, it could be an option for them to go through the Board of Variance.
Yeah, I'll just add with the proviso, the Board of Variance requires that the board determine there be hardship.
So sometimes it is, it would seem to be a minor variance, but they'd have to demonstrate hardship, whereas council can issue a variance permit just based on sort of general interest or will of council without having to determine actual hardship.
Another clarification. So is there also a difference where if you go to the Board of Variance, it's not a decision is registered on title, whereas if you go to council, it is?
Through the chair, a board decision has to be recorded and listed on our website, but doesn't get registered on title.
But our decision does.
Correct.
That's the other.
Over to you, Councillor Jurgensen. I believe you wanted to make the motion.
I would like to move the motion as written, with the only change being 300 meters of notice rather than 100. And if I could look to the corporate officer for the wording of that motion, if that's appropriate to do.
Mayor, would you like me to read out the entire motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's that notice be given that council will be considering the issuance of development variance DBP 2026-0013 for the variance of lot coverage to be buried at 994 Windjammer Road, April 27, 2026 meeting of council. And that council authorized staff to give notice for the consideration of issuance of development variance permit 2026-0013 in accordance with section 499 of the Local Government Act to all property 300 meters of the legal boundary of 994 Windjammer Road.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Jurgensen, seconded by Councillor. Any further discussion on this item? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. So that carries with Councillor Fast in opposition. Moving on to new business, section 11, update to council on Metro Vancouver business. The only flag item here for council is just the governance, which I do not sit on, is moving along. Their major consideration right now is doing some engagement with the public and members on the structure of the port size proposition. My understanding right now is that Owen wouldn't lose a seat. But for those in the public who might not be aware, larger municipalities like Vancouver and Surrey get 5 or 6 members, each who have a weighted vote of 5 or 6 votes apiece. So there's questions of whether having a 40-person board with multiple representatives from each municipality is the best way of doing it. So I would keep an eye out for the public engagement that's coming out on that. But apart from that, I don't have anything else to update. Councillor Jurgensen.
Sorry, just to confirm, Bowen has a single seat on that board, is that correct?
Single seat, single vote.
Thank you. And when you say that the members from Vancouver have 5 or 6, like from large municipalities have 5 or 6 members with 5 or 6 votes apiece, does that mean they amount to about 25 to 36 votes just for that municipality compared to Bowen's single vote?
Yes, that is exactly it.
Thank you.
Not seeing any further comments and questions. Next item is update to Council on Islands Trust business. We have our municipal trustees, Fast and Gay, here today.
Sure. I'll begin. I just, we mentioned the trust council was held in March, last week up at, in Duncan this time at, the Quitchin Center. Anyway, it was nice to be in a cultural setting and, very appropriate. It was Cindy Daniels, Chief Cindy Daniels, who welcomed us. She's been in the news lately. We passed the budget by 2/3 vote, 16 votes out of in favor and 8 opposed. I won't read all my notes here, but the video is up. The trust policy statement I wanted to mention will not be complete this year. Staff advised that the province told them that there was not time this year for the province to get it through the approval by the minister. And so that will be continuing next term. There were several roll call votes, increased trustee remuneration you heard about. We added the secretariat funds back in for Ketsum House Sound Community Forum coming up April 17th. So the Islands Trust will continue to fund some of the administrative costs for that. And that's why the number changed. one of the reasons that the number changed and the CFO got a different number than for the one she gave originally. We endorsed an Indigenous Relationships action plan. And the levy increased slightly, and because we added a few things back in, and the chair signed the joint call to the province about commitment to UNDRIP and the Declaration Act. That was one of the things that Trust Council supported, and Julie Mobbs is going to be replaced by Derek Coburn for the year. And then we've got the Community Stewardship Awards are linked to in our agenda here, and we that you'll be seeing more about that. We do that at the last year of each term. That competition to inspire everybody to do more for biodiversity and preserving and protecting private land and all kinds of preserving and protecting. And I think I'm done. I'm going to leave it over to Councillor Getty for any.
Leave a few bits. So this, the stewardship awards, Trustee Fast and I talked about a little bit about this at the council meetings in terms of, we haven't, Owen hasn't put a lot of people up. There have been some awards. Bob Turner and Sue Allen, Will Husby have all received stewardship awards over the years, but I think that there's a whole lot that's been going on with respect to stewardship on Bowen that we need to consider. I'm not sure whether or not we should be talking about it in public and trying to raise the publicity, or trying to organize and strategize in terms of who we might want to support. I'm not entirely sure whether it's something that we surprise them with in terms of, I think we'd have a very, very good chance of getting there's 2 or 3 really good strong ones I think that we could support. So it's something that I would like this council to somehow figure out a way of deciding whether or not we want to have a private discussion, not a closed session. I don't think it fits within any of those categories in terms of talking about a person. It's not exactly. You might? Oh,
Yes.
okay, so let's do it that way, and then we can decide whether or not we want to publicize. But I think this is something that we really need to support and endorse and work on. And the rest, I got really, really sick after the trust meeting, and now I've got a really, really sick dog, so I haven't really been doing much work. So that's all I'd like to report on.
I was thinking the same thing, so I'm glad you brought it up.
So perhaps a motion to consider nominations for the Evans Trust Stewardship Award at the next closed meeting of council.
Yeah.
Moved by Councillor Jurgensen, seconded by Councillor Fast. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Any other items from the trust before we move on? So unless there's questions. Not seeing any questions. So we will move on to question period. We'll look online or packed gallery for any questions that the public might have for council. Going online, okay, and with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Getty, all in favor, raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.